Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the unit team in their steadfast defense of Earth during episode 518. Cybermen we can handle, but fighting Osgood, that's another thing. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn. How are
How's
you
it
guys?
going, guys?
Good, I'm
I
well.
am sore and tired.
Oh, why are you sore and tired?
We spent the weekend moving out of the house because we are getting ready to close on our sale.
Wow. Very cool.
Yep.
So
I'm very tired and sore for it now.
Where are you moving to in the interim?
We are moving in with my father. So
Okay.
I'm currently set up in my dad's kitchen to record.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's got a nice island thing with a good place to clamp the microphone to.
Nice.
Yeah, so we just moved in here Saturday.
Oh, wow.
So just third night here.
Would you do anything else? You probably didn't have time to do anything else after doing that all weekend.
Sure did not.
Sean, did you do anything this week?
We went out and bought the rest of the bricks that we needed to, in theory, finish off the rest of the patio that we are putting in the back. And Mel was a trooper because I wasn't going to do it, so she did all the heavy lifting. And just about done, so it's looking good. And then we did a little bit of fun and took Shy out to go see Sonic 2.
Mason and I saw Sonic 2 too.
What'd you think?
As well. I enjoyed it. I thought it was as good, if not better, than the first one. And I really, I'm really enjoying Jim Carrey because it's old Jim Carrey. You know, it's Jim Carrey that I think we're familiar with. And I know that routine can kind of get old, but I think we've been away from that kind of manic character that he does long enough now. And it seems to work for these films. And so, yeah, I really liked that. I thought it was interesting that they kind of sidelined James Marsden for a while. But I see why they did, because they had some character development to do. And Idris Elba as Knuckles is probably the best thing about the movie. He is so fun, so much fun, and so funny. And he's the straight man, but it's because he's the straight man is what makes it so funny in the situations. So, yeah, it was good. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, for somebody who I never really played Sonic. It was just a game series that I never really got into. But we had such a good time with the first one that we were all pretty excited and jazzed about the second one. And Shai was really looking forward to it, and we went and saw it. And it was just familiar enough that when they would throw something out there, I would get excited and go, "Oh, that's from the video game. I recognize that." You know. So, yeah, but it was just a lot of fun.
Well, Mason gets a lot more out of it than I do. He sees all the little Easter eggs and nods because he has played every game backwards and forward, and he knows all about everything Sonic. So, the one thing that I did really enjoy was my family for years has played, and not a lot of people know about this game. I mean, I'm not saying it's like a sleeper game or anything, but Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine has always been one of our favorites. But every time we tell somebody about it, they're like, "What is that?" Well, when we saw that the coffee shop was called the Mean Bean, we all kind of just fist bumped at the same time. It was so funny. And then when they reveal all of the electronic stuff inside, Caitlin goes, "Oh, now it is the Mean Bean Machine." So we really got a kick out of that. And then, of course, I got a kick out of it. And Sean, probably you could relate, when he finds the owner's manual or the user's manual for the big mech, and he holds it up, and it's one of the classic old Sega game book style game manuals. I kind of did so I got something out of that one. But
yeah, there are many such Easter eggs and visual gags and things of that nature. And yeah, I agree with you. I just Jim Carrey is I can't say necessarily it's old school because he's not as manic as the Ace Ventura or
it is still a bit muted. Yeah.
It's dialed down, but it just he fits this character so well, with Robotnik, with the way that it's portrayed, and he's just so fun. He's just so much fun with it. So, yeah, it's a blast. It's a great movie. So, other than that, no, we haven't done much. A lot of work.
We saw Morbius last weekend.
How is it?
It's not as number one. It's not as terrible as people are making it out to be. It's a fun movie. I would go as far to say as it's a pretty good movie, along the same lines as, for me, Venom was a fun movie. It's nothing. I mean, it's nothing mind blowing. It's nothing even on par with any of the Marvel universe stuff. But Jared Leto does a good job. Matt Smith is probably the best part of it. He's really good. I don't want to say anything because I don't know how much anybody knows about the movie, but he does a phenomenal job. The negatives of it is it feels like a very disjointed film. It feels like maybe it got chopped up a little bit, and some of the consistency in the flow of the story doesn't work as well as it should. And the other thing that I felt that it lacked was enough of the character or mythos of the characters. It seems to just kind of throw the action right out and in front of you, and it doesn't give you any of those beats that pay off later in the film. I mean, it does have some of those, but there are a lot of times that I feel like they could have dropped something earlier that would have paid off on something that happened later better than it does. So there's that. And then there's no after credits, but there's a mid-credit scene, and I can't even talk about it because it's so messed up.
I heard that was like bonkers.
We got done with it. Mason and I just looked at each other like, what? How does that even work? So that's all I'll say is, how does that even work? Anyway, I would recommend seeing it. You could probably wait till it's streaming or on Blu-ray, but it was worth seeing it. It didn't waste my time, and I didn't waste my money on it.
Well, that's not exactly a glowing review, but it's a positive review, which I've not heard many of.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll take positive at this point.
It's definitely, I can say this, it's definitely set in the Venomverse. Most definitely set in the Venomverse. How it will relate to the MCU at any point is to be seen, with the exception of one thing that I can't spoil.
Okay.
So,
I also watched Star Trek The Motion Picture, the 4K Director's Edition that dropped on Paramount Plus this week. And I have a review that I've posted over there on Flicks with Friends, but I will just say that I don't know if anybody's a fan of this movie. I have become more and more of a fan as the years have gone on. I know fandom in general is not terribly kind to the motion picture because it's kind of slow and plodding. Let me tell you, if you are one of those people that thinks that the motion picture is slow and plodding, you need to give this a shot. If you've never seen the motion picture, you definitely need to give this a shot. It feels like after 43 years, they finally finished it. Unlike the Star Wars special editions, which were kind of just done because Lucas, wasn't really happy and wanted to tweak them a little bit, this was a fundamental restructuring of the film from top to bottom. There was a lot of editing done. There was a lot of special effects work done. There was a lot of audio and sound and dialogue, different dialogue takes that were done. And all of this was done initially under the supervision of Robert Wise back in 2009 when they did it for the DVD release, but they weren't working with the original film masters because they were doing it for a DVD release. So the team that worked on it then now had access to the original negatives when they went back and were cleaning it up with the 4K. And so kind of taking that blueprint went one step further with it to do it the way Robert Wise would have done it to begin with.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
And man, it is so I mean, this is the best the Enterprise has ever looked on film. It is a gorgeous print, and the film moves well. It's I can't say enough. I am super, super, super impressed with this version of it. So,
Wow.
Give it a shot.
I'll probably go watch it at some point. I love the first one. I think the first one's great. It's not my favorite of all of the films, but I've always enjoyed the motion picture. I thought it was one of the better films.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really had that many complaints about it.
Yeah,
of course, I'm not as big of a Star Trek fan as the two of you are.
It's one that, you know, I mean, I like it. I've always liked it, but it has certainly grown on me as I've gotten older, and I find myself gravitating back toward it more and more frequently. In fact, for some reason, it's kind of become I feel like I'm watching it like once about every 6 months now. I just pop it in, and it's just kind of like comfort food. It's just kind of there, and the Jerry Goldsmith score and everything. It just kind of carries me away, and it's just very, you know, it's comforting. But man, this is a whole nother thing. The lighting is completely off the chart. Like they walk down a corridor and you're like, my God, is this the same film? I mean, it's unreal how much this difference is. So, and they fixed all of the little niggling things, like the beautiful matte shot of Vulcan with all of the moons in the sky, despite the fact that in one of the original series episodes, Spock says Vulcan has no moon. We fixed it. Little things like that. They went back and tweaked all of that kind of stuff. So the fanboy in me was very, very, very happy.
Nice.
And we are getting a physical media release in September, so I can't wait to own it because it's going to look even better on a 4K Blu-ray. So
yeah, cool.
They all say, who is Doctor Who?
Do you collect Doctor Who? Do you have Doctor Who items and you don't know you collect Doctor Who? For all things in the Doctor Who collecting world, tune in to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, a Direction Point Network podcast. I am Larry Van Rosbergen, your host, and I have been collecting Doctor Who for 40 years. With popular features like collection protection and the most outrageous offer, we have a lot of fun. Available anywhere you get your podcasts. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point Network podcast.
Did you guys see the Doctor Who podcast that was announced? Doctor Who Redacted?
Yeah.
That looks like it'll be good. I'm looking forward to listening to that alongside to kind of fill the gap between Easter and whatever we get next.
All right. Well, let's move on to this week's review.
Unit Cyber Reality.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions. Unit Cyber Reality.
Virtual reality goggles.
Very good. I am the overseer of this facility. You're in my house.
It's following us inside.
Faster! Keep climbing! I bet she's gonna run out of stairs.
Oh, my head is... Hold on, Sarah. I'll give you something for the pain.
Connection re-established. It's a bridge.
A bridge? To where?
Another universe.
My head! Filling my head! So many thoughts, so much...
You know you were wishing you could have brought your equipment, Osgood.
Yes.
Well, right now, I'm wishing I could have brought a gun.
Stop them! You've got to stop them! They're forming a link! They're letting them in! They're bringing them here!
There's something coming through the portal. I can only see their outlines, but they're marching this way.
Fire!
I am the master.
The master. Put down the gun, Kate. Your father could never shoot me in cold blood, and neither could you.
Big Finish. We love stories.
Shall we save the world?
Game Theory. Sam Bishop is missing. Lost at sea, imprisoned with a valuable hostage, Unit's troubleshooter will need all his skills to survive. To save their comrade, Kate Stewart and Osgood are offered a deadly challenge, but this game might be impossible to win.
Wait. Oh, I thought it would be more enthusiastic from you, Sean.
It's a little bit of a slower start if you're not familiar with the characters, I could see.
Yeah, I guess
it's good. It's once again, I'm dropped in the middle of something. I'm push up immediately because I don't know, other than Kate and Osgood, I don't know who these people are. But I enjoyed it. I had a few little issues with it, but yeah, that was good. Somebody else start. I want to hear some other opinions before I tear into it. I want to hear somebody else talk.
I'll go ahead, Keith.
I enjoyed it. I had a few issues with it myself too, but overall, as someone who had listened to all of the Unit stories up to this point anyways, this is actually the next of the Unit box sets that I was ready for. I just never pulled the trigger and listened to it. So it was kind of cool jumping in. And, yeah, it really worked out well. It was really cool jumping in and listening to this and seeing what's going on, because it had been a while since I listened to it. Actually, I take that back. I had not listened to the previous one. I just looked it up. I stopped at Assembled, which was volume
4.
Yeah. So, but I was at least familiar. I knew what had happened with Sam previously, and so just being dropped in with him being kidnapped somewhere was kind of a cool, all right, and let's go figure out what's going on there. And then, Osgood and Kate doing a cat and mouse kind of race to complete the goals was nice in the fact that it was the two of them together doing their own thing. And a lot of times it's not in these box sets. It hasn't been Kate and Osgood together. It's been Kate directing Osgood to go do something, and then Osgood goes off and does it, and Kate goes off and does something else. So that getting the time of them together, working together, I really enjoyed. That being said, they kind of made them both a little too stupid. They are much smarter than what this story gets credit for. Like, you couldn't figure out that, you're supposed to just wear the goggles the whole time and you solve all the problems without having to go anywhere. I mean, I was screaming at the speaker to put the stupid headset on. It's obviously the headsets, especially near the end when I don't know what to do. And then, yeah. So that was my biggest complaint, was it felt like it dumbed the two characters down too much when they are much smarter than that.
Yeah, it tries to make Osgood seem smarter than it portrays her in this, but it really does no favors for Kate whatsoever. And in fact, I kept feeling like Kate was just bumbling her way through everything, and Osgood was just basically leading her around for most of the time. But I agree, Osgood even didn't seem as smart or clever as she is in this as well. But like you said, Keith, I enjoyed having the two of them together doing something and them being the forefront of this story, because I love the characters. And while I haven't listened to any of the Unit stuff yet in the new series, I love when they're together doing stuff. So I really enjoyed that part of it as well. I got to ask you, Keith, the Auctioneers, has that been a group prior, or were we learning about them in this one as well?
I think we had they had dropped hints about the Auctioneers leading up to this, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
this is kind of their big involvement. I mean, this is, from what I remember, this is much more than they've had previously.
Okay. Because that's what it kind of felt like, that this organization had been around, and I kind of felt like they had already been adversarial to the Unit crew. But I don't, even though I feel like there was some background there, I didn't feel like it was necessary to have listened to or heard much of that, because I kind of felt like they catch you up to speed of who they are, or at least you get the impression of who or what they are. And they basically are the adversary to Unit for all intents and purposes in this. And that they're, later I think we discover more that they're collecting the alien technology and using it for their own means. But I liked the concept of that. I think later in the box set it's all kind of wrapped up and wiped out too soon. I would have liked to have seen or heard more of some back and forth. So they were good. It was a good villains. It was kind of the what am I looking for? Spectre of Unit, essentially.
Yeah.
But I was kind of saddened that it was dispatched as quickly and easily as it was later. Of course, I'm getting ahead of myself. I think the other thing that I felt a little bit like Sean dropped into the middle of it was I don't feel like I was familiar enough with Sam Bishop to really care much about the character. They do a good job of making him of some importance to our familiar characters, but I really felt like I needed to know more about what or who he was. I guess he's an Auton, or was that the other guy that was the captain?
He's partially on.
Okay, partially
on. Go back to the first box set to learn truly what exactly happened to him.
Okay.
Essentially, they fused Auton plastic to his skeleton, and so he's like super strong and really durable.
I see. And of course, I hear Sam Bishop, and I think, oh, is this related to to the bishop, our familiar bishop, who might have been named after Samson? But obviously, it wasn't any connection whatsoever.
More's the pity.
Yeah, more's the pity. I enjoyed this one.
I think previously, Andy had mentioned that it was intended to be hinted that it was a relation, but I think this story kind of skews that all off the tracks with all the talk about his great-grandfather.
Well, yeah, because his great-grandfather fought in World War II. He also talked about his mother and father being a teacher and a bookkeeper or something like that.
None of them were army people, so it kind of ruined that.
Although I kind of think down the line, if they still wanted to do a connection to that, I think they could have done it in such a way that that's kind of his cover story for them. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I like the story. I will agree it's the weakest one of the four, and for all the reasons that you said, Keith. But I thought it was a good story. Really, I enjoyed it. I'm glad it's on the front end of this box set because it can only get better from there.
You guys have pretty much nailed everything that were my concerns. It was a good story. It was a lot of fun. Once it's revealed that Sam is trapped in this kind of video game loop, this cyber loop, we didn't dwell on it enough that, because as a listener, we're like, okay, we're doing that again. You know what I mean? We're anytime it's a time loop of some sort, as a sci-fi fan, you're familiar with that. So it's like, okay, so how long are we going to take before they catch on to what we've, been let in on? And it wasn't very long at all before they, so we didn't have to put up with the repetitive nature of it. They kept the loop fresh where they learned something new each time and surprised us with how the loop reset or something different happened and who was involved and who wasn't. So I appreciated that element of it. Being dropped in the middle, I caught it pretty quickly on this one. Although, like you, I wish I knew more about Sam to care about him being, other than just random unit soldier who's been captured. I wanted to feel that connection a little stronger, which is the danger you run into listening to things out of order. I enjoyed the interaction between Kate and Osgood immensely. It was so bloody obvious from the get-go that they didn't need to leave. That the whole thing was to be solved with the VR helmet. That's what the VR helmet is for. That's why you have a VR helmet. And then Kate goes running off to the car, and I'm like Keith. I'm screaming at the speaker, going, "What? Why? Don't take? Ah!" And then the auctioneer is giving them clues. You're virtually there. And I'm like, oh, come on. Put two and two together. And so, yeah, the fact that, we've got these great characters and they make them kind of dumb was just insidiously frustrating. But okay. Like you, I felt the Auctioneers were a great villain that, wow, I was hoping that there was more of them in the past that would have led up to this. But I'm glad this one was right at the beginning, because it was a good story, not a great story, but for first one in the set, I'm okay with that, because it kind of kicked things off, and it was a good one to kind of dip your toe into the waters of Unit to set the stage, as it were.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I didn't hate it at all.
I have to admit, I didn't think it was as obvious to me, and I think I'll get to why I think that you guys are correct, but it wasn't obvious to me that they had to stay there. But I know when they left, then I felt like I was getting lost, because I sort of felt like, well, what was the point of telling us about this virtual reality thing and these goggles if now we're off to do another thing? And so I didn't really put two and two together until I got to the end of it, when they said, oh, we weren't supposed to leave. Everything was there at the start. I thought, okay, that was dumb plotting then, because I got confused as to where you were going and why you were doing this, not really thinking, not knowing initially that they had to stay there until it was revealed, but then thinking, well, then you guys should have been smarter than that and figured that much out. So that was one of the frustrations for me. So that's why I think you guys are right, that it was obvious. I just missed it initially until we had to come back to it.
Mm.
I think they were counting on that, but you can't count on that with everybody that's going to listen either. So let me pause real quick. Are you Keith, is he Skyping out on your end?
Am I?
No, is Sean Skyping on your end? Okay.
Shall we move on to telepresence?
Yes.
Yes.
Testing salvaged equipment, Osgood leads Colonel Shindy and Josh Carter on a strange expedition to uncharted territory, a virtual world. When the team is attacked, Kate tries to assist, but it seems the technology itself is doing all it can to tear her apart from her people.
Bum, bum, bum.
I would agree. I think this one's better than the previous one. I thought that was kind of a neat setup for using this virtual equipment this virtual world to transfer yourself to a different dimension, yet still being connected to a physical body back here. I thought it was cool when they were discovering or rationalizing that there were perhaps things that if they believed they could do it. That was kind of neat that ended up happening and ended up helping them as well. It's a little obvious, but I'll forgive them because the Cybermen are plastered on the front of this, and when they're talking about metallic worms, I keep thinking, okay, you guys don't want to get near those. So I know exactly what those are going to be, but again, I can forgive them because we knew going into this was going to be a Cyberman story.
I kind of wish they had kept that secret, because
it would have worked
in
off.
listening to the first two stories, the reveal in the beginning of part 3 would have been mind-blowing of holy crap, there are Cybermen now, but now it's just the waiting game of getting to the Cybermen.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let me tell you, as somebody who did not see the cover art, what a mind-blowing reveal this was.
Or even the title.
Yeah,
Cyber reality.
Cyber reality. When they went into the helmet thing, I never made the connection at all. Was just total. I hit hook, line, and sinker bit on this. Okay, and we're doing the thing, and what a cool idea. And okay, and then all of a sudden, Cybermen. Whoa! Yeah, I was easily impressed. So I'm right there with you. I wish they had held off on it, because you could have been like me. You could have been surprised.
I don't know what you're listening to these on that you don't see the box art.
I'm pulling them off of our repository.
Well, but the ones that were on our repository have the box art. That's why I'm shocked.
I'm not seeing them. Yeah, no, I didn't see the artwork at all. So
this is a lot of fun. I liked Colonel Shindy. I liked Josh Carter. I thought they all, along with Osgood, worked very well as a team. The Colonel is just the right amount of old, staunchy military guy and listening to suggestions as they come along. You know, you've always got those kind of hot-headed, hard-nosed military guys that don't want, what they say goes and everything they know is right because they have experience. And then you have the subordinates that are saying, well, maybe we should do this, and they're not listening. But this guy's just enough of that hard-nosed military character, but he listens to Carter and Osgood when they say, well, we should do this or we should try this, and he's got that perfect balance. And so I really liked that. And then Carter's sort of a run-of-the-mill guy, but he's not a red shirt. He's kind of, he's smart in the things that he does and says and contributes to the story as well.
I did get and I understood why they did it, but I did get a little frustrated with Colonel Shindy of how he just couldn't quite grasp the concept of what was going on. But it was also a thing of they were doing that to help explain for anybody who can't quite understand, the situation of, well, they're there, but they're not there. How is this really working? I obviously understood it pretty quickly and kind of got the concept and was able to, let's go. Okay, but the fact that he kept kind of hammering on, I don't really understand how this works. I understand why they did it. I got a little frustrated, but I appreciated that he eventually did learn it and just didn't continuously just the entire time. I don't know how this is working. I don't know what's going on. In fact, I like the fact that it took him a little bit to learn, but then he did adapt and learn.
I appreciated the fact that we adapted and learned and continued to adapt and learn. It wasn't just, okay, well, I think I can make this jump, so I can. I think I can run as fast as I can. Which of course my mindset would have been, well, okay, I think I can fly. Because the minute we've established this as video game rules, okay,
yeah.
Screw this running thing. I'm not going to bother with that. But then Osgood being so bloody practical. Oh, I wonder if I can see in the dark. Hey, yeah, I can. Which I would not have thought of. I just for all, I'm patting myself on the back for the flying thinking. And then they get down in this tunnel and she's like, oh, you can see just as well in the dark as you can. Oh, you genius woman, you.
Finally, the Osgood that we deserved.
Yeah, exactly. So, I appreciated the fact that they just continued to build on that idea, at least in these small doses with this stuff. Which that part of it was just brilliant. I really enjoyed the idea of this kind of exploratory technology that, as a sci-fi concept, that this is how you could explore the galaxy through this VR world, that you just seed the technology out there, even before the Cybermen were involved and the conquering thing. Just what a cool, what a neat idea, I was a little surprised that they didn't immediately make a time travel assumption. That they put the VR helmet on, they are wandering around this ruined planet, then they get to Piccadilly Circus and realize that it's an alternate Earth, and not one person questioned whether or not it was a future Earth. Not that it was important for the story at all, but just unit being unit.
Well, yeah, no, I agree, and I see where you're coming from, but I think it's understood going in that they were going into an alternate reality or an alternate dimension, And so I think
obviously another universe.
Yeah, another universe. There you go. And so I think had they done that, it would have felt like, oh, you're trying to pull a Planet of the Apes thing here. It's not going to work. So I think it would have been too obvious that it wasn't had they included it. But I know why you're saying that you're surprised they didn't do that. But I think
right. No,
I think it would have been
didn't
too
need
obvious.
It to be a plot thread or anything. I was kind of surprised that a character in character.
It was sort of an expectation, I guess.
Are we sure this isn't a time thing as opposed to a dimension thing? And Osgood could have written it off as no, we're pretty sure it's a dimension thing, or well, no, we don't have any way of knowing. Let's just hope it isn't, and moved on. I just kind of expected somebody to be pragmatic about that, and then it kind of was like, oh well, okay. But yeah, no, the whole adventure part of it was really great, and then with Kate doing her, being electrocuted by the supercomputer, not giving up and all that was cool. And then we get back to Sam, and I felt a little lost again because he's obviously still dealing with the after effects of this, from the last episode, which was cool because I other than the VR helmet, I really wasn't expecting much of that first episode to carry over into the second one, even though it was a box set. I kind of assumed it was just a little standalone, and maybe other than some more auctioneer stuff, I didn't think it was going to be a through line. But okay, it is great. But then this was kind of the first of the what is the deal with Sam that I'm not aware of because I haven't listened to these other sets. And this was where we first started to get some hints that he was more than human. And I don't think it was until the third story that he drops the Auton line.
Is it Sam that's the Auton, or is it Josh? I thought Josh was
Sam.
Or Josh? No, it's Sam, isn't it?
It's Sam.
Okay.
Because the wiki says Josh's Auton skeleton was enough to scramble it. That's why I was, and I thought that it was Josh.
Josh is the one that was with Osgood.
Right,
Sam,
but it's when they come back through. Yeah, now that you say that, though, it was Sam. Sam was the reason why they were able to get back. But I get confused now because
Sam was
getting ahead of ourselves,
traveling to that parallel universe because of the connection he had with the
right.
first.
Well, and that was why they were able to get back, was because he had made that connection.
Right.
And because Kate was trying to break the machine, basically, to take them out of it, to get them back, and she couldn't. The first time it had that self-defense where it shocked her. It didn't electrocute her, but it shocked her. And then the second time that she was going to attempt it, I think it had just something to do with the fact that Sam had made that connection to that universe. Now, of course, he was the ultimate bridge that opened the doorway. Sam was the reason why the doorway opened, so that the Cybermen could come through. So that's part of the reason why he was being used and manipulated. But anyway, I get a little lost after that because Josh was with them, and then, getting ahead of ourselves, the Colonel and Osgood end up getting cyber converted, or partially cyber converted, and somebody else did too. But I didn't know if that was Sam or Josh. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Josh, and then he kind of just drops off and doesn't really do much. Of course, neither does the Colonel after the cyber conversion.
But see, it's Kate and Josh who are together in this. That's why
it's Kate and Sam.
I think you're wrong. And the reason I think you're wrong is because I remember it that way, and I'm looking at the plot from the wiki, and they're saying it's Josh.
Which plot are you looking at?
If you go to actual Code Silver, if you go to that one, I think Josh makes it back first. And he
doesn't get converted. And he's helping Kate to bring the others back. When they come through, the Cybermen have come through first, and they end up converting Osgood and the Colonel. I'm looking here real quick. Yeah, so it's Josh that helped stop the Nestine invasion. Spoilers in Earthfall. Yeah, I think we're confusing the two because it's Josh, according to the wiki, that is the Auton, or has the Auton grafting. So
okay,
But it was Sam who was kidnapped in the first story, and
Definitely,
didn't they talk about
it
that
definitely
also?
was. It was no. See, I didn't know anything about the Auton stuff until I think it was the next story that we're getting ready to review.
I think it was
That's
the
when,
third part where
that's
the
when it's
Auton revealed itself.
That's when it's referred to, and in fact, I think that now that I think about it, that Kate says it must have been because of his Auton skeleton or his Auton, because he's an Auton, he wasn't able to be converted. I think was what it was. But again, I for a while was mixing the two up in my head because I initially thought it was Sam that was with Kate, but now I'm remembering that it was Josh with Kate. Now, of course, I'm confirming that with the wiki now, but not that the wiki couldn't be wrong. But
See, all along I thought it was Sam. Maybe I've been wrong.
Anyway, regardless,
Irregardless, I enjoyed the story.
Yeah, I would agree.
I thought it was a good one.
Especially the big reveal and finale, and that the Cybermen come through. That must have been the real mind blowing thing for you, then, Sean. Is when
yeah. So what Cybermen? Yeah, no, didn't see him coming at all. Didn't see the artwork. Didn't realize it. Didn't make the connection. Now, once they revealed it, and there were Cybermen, then all of a sudden, unit cyber. Oh, then it clicked, and I almost messaged Keith, dude, have you listened to this week's homework yet? But I didn't want to spoil it because maybe he hadn't made that connection, not knowing that they were on the cover.
This episode of Traveling the Vortex is sponsored by Audible.
They have audiobooks, they have novelizations, and they have Big Finish. So you can go and try it for free. Here's how. Simply go to audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Again, that's audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Sign up for a free 1-month trial and dip your toe in Big Finish, and then you will be like us and know what all the hype is about.
Again, that's audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Sign up today.
We've sort of already started talking about it, so let's go ahead and move on to Code Silver.
The Cybermen are coming across the barriers between universes, conquering all before them, conquering and converting. As her troops fight for a relentless enemy, Kate battles to lock down the threat. But how long can UNIT resist?
Bum, bum, bum!
Yeah, that's just going to get progressively more enthusiastic. Go ahead, Sean, you start this time.
Oh man, this one was phenomenal. This is how you do a base under siege story.
Yeah.
You do a base under siege.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truly.
So we're on this oil platform, and the Cybermen are there.
Oil
and
platform.
we're going to lock it down. Well, it was
it's the
offshore.
It's that castle from Sea Devils.
Yeah, that one.
It's the alternate base where where they had the master held the first time.
So yeah, it's remote, and we're offshore, and we lock it down, and then we play cat and mouse, and we have to run through corridors and air ducts and hide in storage rooms and the Cybermen and very cool use of alternate universe Cybermen, which gives us new toys to play with. Which was, which is brilliant ways of doing stuff. And man, Cyber Osgood, terrifying. Like, I kept thinking maybe she's still in there and she's just leading the cyber leader on.
I thought the same. I thought the exact same.
And I kept waiting for her to pull the rug out from under him. Like, she's doing all this and, she's biding time. She's I need my humanity because, and I'm like, yeah, get him, Osgood, get him. And she kept circumventing Kate. And I'm like, well, okay, but she's doing that for a reason, right?
No.
We went all the way to the wire,
yeah.
and no, she's really working with the Cybermen. Damn. This is not going to end well.
Well, that's what I was with you. I kept thinking that she kept circumventing Kate because she kept thinking, I have to put the pieces in play, and to do that, I have to get ahead of Kate, who's going to continue to try to thwart me the entire time. So I thought she was having to stay in front of Kate in order to keep her plan going. And only to find out later that nope.
She was really just trying to help the Cybermen.
Yep.
Yeah, I really was expecting that moment, kind of like from is it Web of Fear when the Patrick Troughton says, "Oh no, I had him right where you fools, you screwed it all up." I was really expecting Osgood to be like, have that moment. No, she was just fully converted and along for the ride there. And oh wow, look at this! I could make you more efficient. It's like, oh no. I had to stop and tell Mel because the brilliance of this. So I'm loving the bit in the armory where we're going through so the gold bullets are on this shelf, the silver bullets are on this shelf for werewolves. Really? Well, of course they are. And we're going through all of the stuff because, Dad believed in being prepared. And what's this one? Oh, this is an emotion gun, and does this. Okay.
Oh, here's some these acetone. Oh, that probably won't work on these.
But bring it anyway.
I did a fist pump at that. Yeah. Nice Moonbase reference.
Going through all of this stuff, and then. The wonderful, I find most things blow up well with C4, and we're just going to grab grenades and laughing because, going back to the invasion, we throw grenades down the manhole cover and, run away. Mm-hmm. But when we got to the point where it was like magnetized grenades, I fist pumped because it suddenly dawned on me, all these Cybermen stories, we've never used a magnet grenade before. Don't they have those where they put the RPG on the end of the gun and they fire them and the magnets shoot off and it's like tuk, 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 and it's just a whole bunch of magnet grenades that stick to something and they blow up tanks with them? Why have we never done that before? My brain melted because I was like, oh my God, it's the simplest solution. I've read G.I. Joe comics my whole life. We use them all the time in those. Why have I never thought of this? Now, I'm willing to write it off as these particular Cybermen from this particular universe because maybe it's one of those metals that, they're like aluminum and they don't really stick to magnets. But man, I bet all the Cybermen are magnetic. I bet it would work. But yeah, that was just the greatest.
Well, she uses it once on the cyber controller, doesn't she?
Yeah,
he has to repair himself. Yeah,
and then he repairs.
That's what I was so excited about. Is when she did it, it just was like, why have we never done this before in the history of Doctor Who? They've never used magnet explosives. But yeah, no, it was great. And then dealing with the little hoops to disrupt the Wi-Fi signal. Everything about this was so cool.
Well, this is Kate being smart and being the scientific person we know she is, and the strategic person we know she is, where she's planning and plotting and problem solving as she goes, and really just shows off how great of a character she is.
I love the fact that it was so much of the problem-solving Kate, scientific Kate, and yet still dealing with the reality of losing people in battle Kate. Yeah. That they weren't just pawns to her, and it got brought up and addressed. And so much win in this episode. It was fantastic.
And I love the effects they used for the Cybermen and the way Nicholas Briggs performed the voices, where it has that old school sound, like the 10th Planet sound to them, but still being a very modern version of that same exact thing. It was such a well executed voice work.
Agreed.
And
Sorry, Glenn, I prattled on.
No, that's okay. No, that's all right. No, I think one of the things too that stood out was I was kind of glad that there was some payoff from the first story with the app. Osgood realizing that she could use the app that the auctioneers had used or had dispersed to the population, that she could end up using that app in order to advance the Cybermen's plan to take over. That was nice. And then I really kind of felt like Josh, I think we've settled down that. I really
Yes.
think that Josh kind of gets a chance to really shine in this one, and he does seem to be the question man for Kate's answers, so that we know what's happening when she's describing the different weaponries and things like that they're going to use. But I'm with you, Shauna, that the stepping through weapon after weapon in order to do what has to be done. I thought that was really cool, right up to the climax where she's going to use the kind of the nuclear option, for pun intended, in order to finish it for good. So,
And the fact that they take the story to that extreme where she is about to do the nuclear option because they've run out of other options. I kept forgetting that the Master was supposed to be at the end of this also, and I was like, how are they? This is all in one story. What are they going to do in the next one, and how are they going to get out of this?
So, Sean, if you don't see the covers, did you think the Doctor was showing up when you heard the TARDIS materializing?
No.
Okay.
Did you know the War Master was in it?
I did not know the War Master was in it, but only because we've been in such a huge block of War Master stories that's where my mind went first.
Well, especially since River already went there with the thought that another Time Lord would just naturally be the Doctor.
Yeah, fool me once, shame on me. So,
I like that Kate quickly realizes that it's not the Doctor.
Yeah.
So we know pretty quickly too. They don't try to lead us on.
Yeah.
That,
Well,
be the Doctor.
I like her statement when she says she does think it's the Doctor first when she hears the materialization, and she says, "Oh, of course, too late this time," because she's about to set the thing off. And then the Master steps out of the TARDIS and disassembles her weapon, just pretty much makes it null and void. I need these parts, thank you.
Oh, shall we move on to Master of Worlds, or is there more about cyber?
Let's move on.
The Cybermen are close to victory, a world under cyber control, a new paradigm to expand the cyber race. Fresh from the Time War, the Master arrives in the hour of Earth's greatest need, but he really doesn't care.
He pretty much says that when he shows it up, too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's more of the same, more awesome. Derek Jacobi is rapidly becoming. I have to be careful with saying this, but he's rapidly becoming my favorite Master. He's so excellent in the role, and the way that he's able to. I think it helps that we are getting a kind of a crash course of, well, let's throw him in with everybody, so he has kind of the opportunity to interact with all of these different Who heroes, and his smarminess when dealing with Kate, and his comment about, your father had so many opportunities to kill me, he really should have done it.
He brings so much levity to the situation, even though it's obviously very serious. But it's been good, it's been good, it's been good, and then it just became incredibly fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. It's a lot of fun. It's more Jacobi Master, which I too am enjoying. Is fast becoming one of my favorite Masters. I think that his quips and, as you said, the levity that he kind of brings to it works really well for the story, especially as dark and dire as it gets. The fact that he really doesn't care for the Earth, but he cares about surviving, so he does end up helping UNIT for his own means. I like that he's there for these parts that he needs to, and in fact, he uses the same portal to get out of the parallel reality which I think was weird because we don't have any idea what he was doing in there other than he says, quote, looking for possibilities. So that said, I don't think this story necessarily falls here or has to fall here. And I did look I did look on the wiki, and they have it falling after the second box set where he gets the fob watch. And it doesn't really say why they chose there, but I'm really not sure why the author of our graphic that we're going by chose to put this one here. And that being said, as much as I enjoyed the Master in this, it was almost stunt casting, I think, for, as Sean said, to put the Master in with a lot of our heroes and just play with the interaction, because he's not really that necessary to this story. He is the one that does he makes the hard choices easy with killing the head of the auctioneers. He does make it easy to do the seedy under things that he ends up doing that unit probably couldn't go that far to do. But he's not really all that necessary for the story overall. I think you could have easily used something or somebody else as a mechanism in this, but maybe that's just me. I'm not sad that he was there. I'm glad. I absolutely enjoyed it, but I just didn't feel like that. It felt like he was necessary.
I can see that, and it seemed like I can agree. I agree with your sentiment about the placement of this story and the timeline of this, as far as the Time War goes. I mean, it's really ambiguous, so you don't really. It could go either before he starts going to look for the genetic stuff for Volume 3 of the War Master, or it could be him looking for the next opportunity after that. I mean, it can go really anywhere. It doesn't have to go right where we put it.
Yeah.
And as far as he's useful, and he winds up saving the day at the end of it, which is kind of a fun thing to see the Master, even though it's just so he can get back to his TARDIS and
so survive. He can survive. Yeah,
it's still kind of fun to see him kind of play the good guy, and it's stunt casting, but Jacoby is so delightful to listen to that I'm okay with it.
I think that might be the only reason that it works plot-wise, is because once we establish that Osgood has not been able to stand up to the cyber conversion, then we need somebody who can stand up to it.
Yeah.
And the Master does fit that bill. So we get him converted, and then he can pull what we all kind of assumed Osgood was going to do.
Yeah.
And because we don't have anybody else that fits that, on staff, as it were, which was another. I understand you're looking for a scientific advisor.
There's a vacancy.
I think that's really kind of the only reason to have him there, other than the stunt casting part of it, is that he suddenly becomes the cog that fits in that hole. And the rest of it is just running about and doing stuff. And I loved his rationale, where after he offs the head of the auctioneers and Kate's mad at him about it, he says, well, she might have been useful. He goes, oh, so you're upset as you are. It's what did he say?
It's
academic.
Pragmatic.
It's pragmatic.
Yeah.
You're only upset because she could have been useful to you. And I was like, oh, that is a low blow, and he is not wrong. And that's one of the things that I love about the way Jacoby plays him, is he is so not evil. He is. I mean, don't get me wrong. He is. But whereas, with some of the stories, like when he's committing arson for the sake of committing arson, and then some of the stories here where there is very much a method to the madness, and there's a rationale behind everything he does. and he'll call you out on it. It's like, no. That's not the way this works. It's just so good. Overall, I found this to be an extremely satisfying conclusion to not only the box set but to this story. The way that they managed to work it out and kind of turn the tables on the Cybermen. It didn't necessarily feel like a Deus Ex Machina, which so many times when you get into these kind of, oh wow, how are you going to get out of this? And then, oh, that way, okay. Which I guess technically
it is,
yeah, but
it is, but yeah, there's a lot of times that they go that route, and you feel like, oh God, okay, here we are again. But this one, they at least do it in such a way that you're still satisfied by the solution.
Yeah. And there's still some ramifications from it. I mean,
Right.
they're still dealing with the fact that, well, we've got some cleanup work to do, you know?
Yeah. I thought it was kind of cute that Osgood is actually mildly thrilled that she met the master.
and survived.
And survived, yeah.
So the wiki points out that, the master says he'll have to kill Kate another time, but when he said it, I thought he was talking to Osgood. Because he was holding her captive, to get into his TARDIS, and I thought, oh, I'll have to kill you another time, referencing Death in Heaven.
Yeah.
More so than Kate.
You're right. Although Missy does try to kill Kate too, so.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so it still works
to kill everyone, so it works both ways.
Right.
But he actually succeeds in Death in Heaven with Osgood.
So I think overall, I think that the entire box set it's a good build up, and the action is really good. I think I disagree that the momentum sticks around through this one. I enjoyed the last story, but I really felt like the cream of the crop was the prior one, the Code Silver. But this was a satisfactory ending. I do feel like the master was probably unnecessary, but I don't regret the fact that he was there. I do, however, think that this whole box set is unnecessary for other than the fact that the War Master is in it, and it's during this is to be the Time War Master. I think it's completely irrelevant to the Time War, no matter what he was doing in that. If they had told us at least what he was doing in that parallel universe, or given a reason for him being there and connected that at the Time War, I'd have been all behind it and said, okay, this was absolutely necessary to be in here, even for a dropped line. But there's not even a dropped line as to why he's there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's I think this is one with some, hindsight's 20/20, but with some foreknowledge, I think this was one week probably. I'm glad we listened to it because number one, it was a nice step away from what we've been getting. It gets us away from the Time War. It gets to do something else. Number two, it's Unit, it's Kate, it's Osgood. It's really well done. It's an enjoyable story, but hindsight's 20/20. When you're doing the Time War chronology, this one could probably be skipped.
Yeah, or at least moved way forward in the timeline, like some of the other ones that didn't necessarily tie in as much.
Sure. Yeah.
I have to concur, unless specifically alternate universe or parallel universe. I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what that is in reference to. And so far, with what we have been given in the Time War, I don't think it's been revealed to us. I think it's just meant to be that he was off doing something. And if that's the case, then it doesn't really fit for me.
It was just a way to get him into this story, I think, simply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
yeah,
almost would have been better if he hadn't actually come through the wormhole and just popped in because something popped up in his TARDIS that was, oh, this is about to happen. Oh, I can go steal this part because I need it. Something like that.
Right.
Would have been better suited to try to make it fit and make more sense.
In fact, when he shows up at the end of Code Silver, I sort of thought that that's why he was there, was to get some parts for something that he was, going to use or give to the Time Lords for the Time War, but they didn't go there.
Even if it's, especially you're here behind the, deal with the cyber. Oh, are there the Cybermen here? Out of here then. Even that would have been fine, just
Right.
happened to be a coincidence. Okay.
Right.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
All right. Well, Sean, what we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up on the schedule is more Time War, at least in theory, but not at first. Because coming up, at least what we've been told is this Easter Sunday is a new Who. Legend of the Sea Devils, Jodie Whittaker and the fam return. New Doctor Who on the TV.
Yay!
And so we will be covering that, as well as taking a look at the recently released Galaxy 4 animation. Now, of course, we've already reviewed Galaxy 4 as a story, so we'll be primarily just talking about the animated episodes that BBC has put out, but you can look for both of those stories next week when we're going to cover. We're not going to make you wait on those. And then we will be back with some more Time War stories. We're going to do the War Master box set, Hearts of Darkness, which is officially the War Master 5. And then roll back to the War Master 4, Anti-Genesis. So 4 more Big Finish stories, and then 4 more Big Finish stories. There's a lot of Big Finish coming up.
A lot of Big Finish. Almost all of this year is Big Finish.
Almost all. All Big Finish all the time.
Be sure to check out the website, travelingvortex.com, for updates. If you get any value out of this podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You do that by clicking on the Patreon link on our website. Also, please consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to this podcast, and make sure you join in the conversations in our listeners forum on Facebook. If there's nothing else this week to cover, until next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
Direction point! Direction point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.